Okay, guys, I'm very excited for today's guest. He has a long list of credentials, so bear with me, but it's important for me that you know so you have motivation to keep listening. So, first, he's a retired US Air Force officer. He's a high performance coach for men who impacted, correct me if I'm wrong, hundreds of thousands of men around the world, between also the other coaches that you impacted. He's the owner of Men of Action, which we'll talk about. For me, he's a genius in networking with high status men and women, which is also dating. He does incredible charity events for animals, children, women, and for military troops. He hosts the 3 biggest bikini competitions in the world. He studied astrophysics. He has over 500,000 followers across social media platforms, and also a very successful podcast in which he interviews prominent businessmen, models, and scientists, and much more. And he always wears a black shirt, so I came matching. Welcome, Michael Sartain.
That's incredible. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Was that accurate, all the things?
I studied astronomy in college, upper division astronomy, but the business school would not allow me to have a minor in astronomy. So I do not have a minor in astronomy, but I have the credentials for it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But people can't call, people ask me about that all the time. I was like, what happened after that is I took a bunch of classes after college because I'm just fascinated by astrophysics.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was my impression.
Yep.
Okay, so before the first question, I just want to say, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the things I like the most about the things you teach is, for me, it looks like it's always win-win, right? Like, for example, the charity events. So, of course, the charity benefits and, women / animals / troops, so whatever benefit, and you get to do incredible networking, and other people get to network, and just everybody wins. And I just love that about you, and how you teach, because not everything on the internet about networking and dating is like that, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So you teach networking, in my opinion, in the highest level in the world. Sometimes you say that maybe you're not the best, but you're the best that teaches it.
Yeah.
So for the men who are listening, what does it mean, high status networking, and what is the first step or first steps for anyone who wishes to do so?
Yeah. So when you think about it, my answers, or a lot of my podcast and a lot of my course material stems from studies in evolutionary psychology. So I always say, if something works in Homo sapiens, where does it fit evolutionarily? Now, some things are mismatches and some things are new developments, but most of the proclivities that we have as humans come from our ancestors trying to solve ancestral survival problems. One of the ways to solve the problem is, the way I like to say it is, the apex predator on the planet is Homo sapiens. But they weren't always the apex predator on the planet. There was a point at which there were hominids walking around that still could not kill, let's say, a woolly mammoth or an African elephant, or to kill a tiger or a lion or something like that, an alligator. What happened is groups of men started working together, communicating with language and facial expressions, body language, etc. And when they did that and were able to work together as a team, that is when Homo sapiens become the apex predator on the planet. It's not one man killing an elephant. It's a tribe of men with spears killing an elephant, or at least getting it away from, wherever they were, to protect their tribe, to protect their family. So the idea of men networking with other men in order to accomplish goals has an ancestral history. It has a history in our past, a survival history that helped our ancestors survive. So if you understand that, then okay, now it makes sense. Throughout history, and Dr. David Buss, who I consider him a mentor. He said that in his book, The Evolution of Desire, throughout history, men who have had stronger networks have had more access to resources and more access to sexual selection. So that's the reason why, evolutionarily, for anybody who's just not sure about it, that's the reason why it exists. Now, here's some bad. There's two sides of this coin. For me, I use my networks only for good. I'm only trying to help my friends get a job, find employers, meet the woman of their dreams. I'm never trying to, like, you notice I'm not like, there's no scam courses I'm trying to help out or anything like that. Like, I try to stay away from that. You see, the bad side of it would be like P. Diddy or Epstein. They're extorting people. This is a very negative connotation. They're trying to get things from people, and they're basically they're exploiting their own fame and wealth in order to get other people to come along with them and then like blackmailing them. That part is terrible. And you will always lose in the long run when you do that. But it's a tool. Just like if I have a gun can protect my family, or a gun, I can go out and commit a homicide. It's a tool. It's the same kind of situation. Networking is a tool. The thing you need to understand, though, is it's so incredibly effective that it really, like, you are truly an ostrich with your head in the sand if you don't recognize how effective it is. So an example of, if you look at Jordan Belfort, or if you look at Donald Trump, or I can think of millions of examples where these guys had done things that would normally make them a pariah to society, but because they were so popular and because they had such strong networks, they rebounded and became incredibly popular. You see the same thing with all the scams that, like, say, Jake and Logan Paul have been a part of, but then they throw a huge fight and then they make them think about all the things Jake Paul has been a part of, or Logan with the energy drinks and the crypto coins or whatever. And then they have a fight and they make $40 million. So it's like, you see from this situation, it's like, and again, I'm not saying it's a good thing. What I'm saying is, This is an example where someone who's done something bad has, because of their networks, are still able to their status, they're still able to win off of that. So I think that's an example. No, those are the bad sides. What are the good sides? The good sides are the people who do Doctors Without Borders. Go to Africa. You have incredible, accomplished doctors. Go to austere locations and help children with all kind of medical ailments. That's an example of like good networking, right? And then you end up, I know people who've been on what's it called, the Peace Corps. They've gone out and they met their spouse, their future husband or wife, while they're out there volunteering with other people. Using your network as an influencer to get people to come raise money for breast cancer awareness, to raise money for troops overseas, sending over care packages, to raise money for animal rescue, to raise money for ALS, to raise money for cancer, to raise money for human trafficking prevention. Those kind of things is a great example where you use your networking for good, right? Remember, it's just a tool. It can be bad or good. Yeah. And being able to do that thing and understanding, number one, that it works, and number two, it's incredibly powerful. And if I don't use it, somebody else is going to use it instead of me. And then the other thing is, just being a normal guy in my 20s, not having a whole lot of status, and then kind of losing out to the guys who had the better networks, who had the better logistics, who had the cooler house parties, you know what I'm saying? The guys who had the cooler friends. Or the one thing that I found that is devastatingly effective, which is when I'm at a party and I'm going to go and I want everyone to come back to my place for the after party, and there's this girl that I really fancy, that I really like, having my female friends tell her, hey, we're going back to Michael's place, the likelihood of that happening is 100x greater than it would be if I'm asking her to come back to my place. So the idea of having female teammates help you in social situations is another thing that I don't know. I'm not the only person who teaches this, but I'm the first person who taught this. I have videos of me back in 2008 teaching this, and then just being excoriated for the next 10 years, people just making fun of me because I had this idea. And now you see several people have come around and they agree with me on this point. So that's it. You want to know the first step? The first step is to fix your social media. Social media is not everything, but social media is so scalable that it allows. So let's say I meet someone in person, and then the first thing they're going to do, and I'm sorry guys, if I'm the first guy to tell you this, every woman you've met in person, if she is the slightest bit interested in you, the first thing she does is look at your Instagram. If your Instagram makes you look like you're a child molester, sorry, bro, like there's no way that they're going to, they're not going to talk to you anymore. They're not going to hit you up. You have blurry photos. You look like a weirdo, that you're just screwing yourself up. You're like, I don't care about social media. I'm a professional. I'm like, I understand that. But social media, like not having fleshed out social media is the equivalent to like an attorney who doesn't have a couch for his clients to sit on. Like you go into the attorney's office and like one of the walls is missing. Like one of the windows are missing. It looks incomplete and it makes you look sketchy. And so it's unfortunate, but the world, and by the way, when I first created this program back in 2019, I had made these same statements and they were kind of true. Now they're extremely true. Like that is, it is what's happening. So I've several videos on my YouTube. You can listen to me. I interview hundreds of girls and I say, hey, when you meet a guy, do you check out his Instagram? They're all like, yes, that's the first thing I do is check out his Instagram. So meeting people in person, being able to time bridge from the time you meet them to meet them again, to hang out with them again, social media sort of like contains your status in that interim period. And then number two, if I don't meet them in person, like, so for instance, I'm hosting a charity gala on the 14th of August here in Las Vegas, and I've messaged 4,000 people to come. When they see my social media, even though they haven't met me in person, they're far more likely to say yes. And even if they don't say yes, we have an open thread, and they're far more likely to come to future events I have, because I can show the efficacy of my event planning and the efficacy of my events through social media. That's why it's so devastatingly important. So it's one of these things where if you don't want to use it, that's fine. But the guy who's going to take your girl, he is using it.
Yeah. And I love that you teach like a whole philosophy, which is obvious when you think about it, but like a lot of men model their social media after women. And the way women and men show status is not the same. So if an attractive woman takes a selfie, she's gonna get like 500 likes. I take a selfie, nobody's interested unless I'm like a male model. So you have, I don't know if we're gonna get into that right now, but there's a different way to take photos and to take videos that shows that you're relevant, competent, right? That you have. What's the other stuff?
So it's relevancy,
scarce resources.
Scarce resources, scarce locations, and scarce networks. Relevancy, competency, pre-selection, social proof, humor, and charisma. Those are the 9 ones that I mainly work on. You notice I didn't say eye color, height. I didn't say money. I didn't say fame. Those weren't the ones I said. I said relevancy, competency. These are things. I don't care if you're a 65-year-old overweight man. We can work on your relevancy, your competency, your access to scarce resources, locations, scarce networks. We can work on your charisma, your humor, your pre-selection, and your social proof. We can absolutely fix those things. And those are attraction triggers for women. They have been ancestrally for the last 200,000 years. They've been attraction triggers for women. And so that's why we work on those, on getting all those up to an 80 or a 90 out of 100, so that when I put you in front of the girl of your dreams, which is going to happen if you take the course, you're going to end up in front of the girl of your dreams. Do you fumble the bag? Do you know what to do? Or do you just kick the ball out of bounds? Which is it? And most guys, most of the time, would just kick the ball out of bounds, because if I put their dream woman in front of them, they don't have enough acclimation, and they're not calibrated enough to deal with women that attractive. And so they just generally fumble.
Yeah. And I want to say, you're not just saying, I don't mention eye color or height and stuff like that.
Facial structure, none of that. Yeah.
Yeah, because on your website, you have real testimonials of real guys who are like 5 feet tall, or are grandpas, like all walks of life, like short Indian guys, like everything. And you can see that they are succeeding in networking with the woman that they want and the guys that they want. And soon I will want you to also make the connection of how what you teach not only helps you in dating, which is very important, but also can help you in business and meeting, incredible men, which is very valuable.
It's really funny. If you're a short Indian guy and you're not taking my course, I don't know what you're doing at this point. Like, after 800 testimonials of guys who are like 5'6", short Indian dudes who grew up vegetarian with like no upper body muscle, whatever, just crushing it with women in my course. If you haven't seen the hundreds of testimonials, I don't know what you're doing. And if you're a tall, good looking white dude and you see what I do for short Indian men, then I truly don't understand why you're not taking my course. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. That is what we try to purvey. And if you go look at our testimonials, you'll notice at the top, the testimonials are always people who are not classically good looking. They're either too old, overweight, they're too short, or whatever, their ethnicity that believes that white women or American women are not attracted to them. And so that you'll see that we just loaded full of that because we want to crush those limiting beliefs that people have. As a man, you have so many different plays that you can run in the playbook. There's so many different ways. Like, again, if you play European football, soccer, if you play soccer, it's not just the center fielder who can score. It's not just the wings who can score. Anyone on the team can score. You can run several different plays in order to get the football into the goal. You can definitely do several different plays. And the same thing for men. There's several different ways you can be attractive to women. What happens, unfortunately, is men become cynical. They think women only care about status. They only care about money. They only care about looks. And the problem is there's just too many of my clients who crush those beliefs. And so instead of just saying, hey, there's something here in MOA that's different from what I'm used to, maybe there's a new thing that I can learn here. A lot of times we'll get pushed back like, oh, no, none of this is real. We've had one of the funniest things that happened to us. We had we showed our testimonials to our copywriters. And we were like, hey, can you guys write email blasts for us, et cetera? And they were like, your content is too good. Like, we don't know how to write copy for this because I didn't believe it when I saw it. Then I met the guy who's 4'11", who's dating the hot blonde. And I can't get my head around it. And even writing this and the copywriting, one of the problems that we had is that our results were too incredibly vicious. Our results were too incredibly pervasive and so visual that it made it very hard for people to believe in it. And also, the stuff I teach is very counterculture. I don't believe men should just be themselves. I think that's cope. That's utter nonsense. Women tell men to be themselves so they can pick out who the losers are quicker. I don't say do that. I absolutely understand that social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. And what you show on social media is what you want other people to see about you. And if you don't believe that, take a look. Every woman you talk to on there, every business person, they're only showing you what they want you to see. Social media is fake. Social media is just a billboard. You need to stop worrying about being genuine on there. There's different things that I teach that are very counterculture that a lot of people don't like. I also believe that in a relationship, most of the time, men need to be leading in the relationship. When women lead in a relationship, they tend to not be as successful relationships. And I think there's a gender norm, binary, biological reason for that I could get into, but it's very counterculture. Whereas culture today is men and women are the same. We're not the same, but the men and women are the same. And the way therapy should deal with men is the same way therapy should deal with women. And I deal with matchmakers and dating coaches, and they give the same advice to men as they give to women, which is obviously ludicrous when you realize it. And so there's these things that I teach that are kind of counterculture on top of the fact that I have so many testimonials. It's very difficult. It very much is Galileo explaining to the Pope that the earth goes around the sun. It's very hard. And then the Pope eventually puts him on house arrest. It's very difficult for the Pope to understand that everything he's ever believed is incorrect. And so when I bring this forth and then I show studies and then anecdotal evidence and then hundreds of my clients, it's very difficult for them to refute it. And so the answer is to either block me or, whatever, make fun of me, deride me, call me names, whatever it is that they need to do to cope with the fact that they feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. So a few things you said you tell men don't be yourself. I guess you would agree you tell men to be their best self, right?
Correct. First off, be yourself isn't real. You're always evolving. If I asked you about, do you have any different opinions now than you did 10 years ago, you're going to tell me 10 of them.
Of course.
It's like, well, you were yourself the entire time. What happened? You evolve as a human being. And so you have different preferences. That's number one. And then number two, you have good things about, like, for instance, if you meet an amazing woman and she makes you want to quit smoking because you want to be with her, that's really good. So if I'm going to be myself, I'm going to smoke in front of her. But if I really want to improve myself because I want a better woman and it causes me to not smoke, then I'm not being my genuine self. Do you see? He's like, oh, you should be no, you should actually improve. I want to lower my body fat percentage and I want to gain more muscle mass. If I do that because women find that attractive, and I'm not saying you should do that for women. What I'm saying is, in general, women are going to find that more attractive. And so what you should do is just go there and be your fattest self that you can, instead of saying, hey, I want to improve my physique, lower my body fat percentage. Well, if you do that, you're not genuine. You're not being yourself. Like, no, you should be your best self. You should always be improving and striving. And that's the only thing other people should see. And here's the other thing that's really important. Your friends and your close family members, They're the only people who should get to see the true you. Those are the only people you should be opening up to. Maybe if you hire a therapist, okay? Those are the only people you should be opening up to. A woman who you just met, you should not be opening up to her because she has big boobs and green eyes. Men have got to stop doing this, okay? The idea that you should be more vulnerable, maybe that's true. That's debatable. I don't know that men need to be more vulnerable. Last time I checked, Megan Fox is dating Machine Gun Kelly, who wears a pink dress. I don't think that men need to be more vulnerable. I don't think that's a problem that men have. But if you do think men need to be more vulnerable, they need to be more vulnerable around people they trust and not some girl they just met. And that's where I think there's a big disparagement. And what's happening, honestly, is women are complaining about men they're attracted to. These men that they're attracted to, part of the reason why they're attractive is because these men are stoic. And so what the women wish these guys would do was open up more so that they could connect closer with the guy. But the reality is you don't have to be that way to generate attraction with women. We all know women who have dated men that were not open and honest with them. And so that's not necessary for attraction. What I need to explain to men is these are the things that are necessary for attraction. These are the things that destroy attraction. You need to understand them in almost a formulaic way. And if whatever I tell you, the world is going to tell you the opposite. But they won't have any evidence to back up their point of view, and I will have endless evidence to back up mine.
Yeah, you kind of touched on that right now, the silent part concept, right?
Yes.
When women say what they want in a man, they assume that they're talking about a guy they're already attracted to, and so they're saying what, like, quote unquote, Brad Pitt, what they would want him to do in a relationship. So it's like, it's hard for me to even believe as a woman that Brad Pitt really wants me. So if he buys me flowers, then I can feel somewhat comfortable believing he wants me.
Yes.
But
this is the problem.
Trigger for attraction.
This is the problem now. We have pretty average women who do think Brad Pitt would want them because of social media, because of dating apps, and because of like Sex Panther and OnlyFans. We're getting women who really aren't that attractive, who are absolutely certain that they can get very high status men to commit to them. There's another counterculture belief that I have. My sexual market value as a man is determined by how many attractive women will have sex with me. Your sexual market value as a woman is determined by how many high status men will commit to you. It's really important. And it is an absolute double standard. My sexual market value as a man is determined by how many attractive women will have sex with me. Your sexual market value as a woman is determined by how many high status men will commit to you. That's it. And so people don't like that because it shows very clear gender norms and gender boundaries, but it is true because for a woman to get sex from an attractive man is not a challenge. And a lot of women have forgotten that. They think just because they had sex with an athlete or a movie star, that raises their status or their sexual market value somehow. And it truly, truly doesn't. In fact, it lowers it. And so a lot of them have an issue with that. Whereas with men, it's such a challenge for the average man to get any sex at all. The fact that he's able to do that and get women to have sex with him means that he's put in a massive amount of work. The problem is women don't notice men who aren't attractive. So when I have this discussion, they only think I'm talking about the men they notice, which are attractive men. And so that's why we go in these circles and things get very confusing. And I've proven this point several times. I've taken several girls out on dates, and I do the same thing every time when I take a girl on a date. The busser will come. The busser is in general, a low status position in society. The busser will come, they'll serve us our drinks, and then I'll wait about 5 minutes and I'll ask the girl I'm with to describe the busser for me. And they're like, we had a busser? I didn't even notice. And then I was like, okay. And then I'm like, who do you notice in here? And it's always some tall, good-looking dude or the manager or someone like that. They notice them, but they don't notice the busser. And I try to explain to them, I was like, you're an attractive woman. Most men you don't even see. So when I'm talking about men in general not being able to get sex, and that's confusing to you, it's because you don't see most men. You just see the men you're attracted to, which is why these conversations go around in circles and keep getting confusing. As a man, because men have higher testosterone than women, you have to think about this ancestrally. If I'm a man and I'm leading the war tribe, right? I'm part of the group of men that is tasked to protect the tribe. I still notice grandma. Even though grandma is not a sexually viable option, Grandma's survival is important to me. So as a man, because I'm interested in the survival of the tribe, I notice everyone. As a woman, because you're choosing a partner to have children with, you are only interested in the high status men that are competing with each other for access to you. And so that's where this mismatch consistently happens. And I just notice women saying there are no good men out there. I know millions of good men. You're just not interested in any of them. And that's the reason why. And part of the reason why is because maybe at some point you got stuck on your highest setting because you went on a date with a male model, a movie star, a power forward, a center fielder, whoever, and then told your friends you were dating him. Of course, you weren't dating him. He has a wife. He has a girlfriend. There's no pictures of the two of you on a red carpet together because you were never dating him. And you believe you were. So every man subsequent to that has to meet up to his standards. And that's when you get into trouble, where women start believing that they can get men they cannot get. Because as a man, we understand if I have sex with a woman, it's really good sex. They generally women want to be in a relationship with me. I shouldn't even be talking about myself. In general, if a man has a really strong connection with a woman and there's a sexual chemistry, generally women want to be in a relationship with a man. I know there's going to be women out there like, no, I just like to fuck random dudes. Okay, good. Good for you, honey. I'm not saying there aren't women like that, for sure. There's a place. I'm not saying porn stars are probably like that. I'm saying most women, most of the time, if they have a genuine sexual connection with a man, are going to want a relationship with him. So for me, I don't define my sexual market value by which women will commit to me, because most women I have good sex with will commit to me. The problem is what I do. The difference is for a woman is like women are defining their sexual market value by which high status man will have sex with them. But of course, that's meaningless. I talk to high status men all the time. And they're like, yeah, I called this girl over, had sex with her, didn't call her the next day. It's like, oh, yeah, I just call them over. Like really famous guys that have millions of followers on Instagram or they're on television, guys that are multi-millionaires. Two of my friends that are billionaires, I have conversations with them about them having women come over. And it's like they couldn't care less. They don't even remember the girl's name. They call the girl over, they smash, and then the girl leaves. And that girl thinks that because she had sex with a high status man, her sexual market value is higher. No, your sexual market value as a woman is determined by what high status man will commit to you. Also, the girl that has the engagement ring, she's been engaged 2, 3, 4 times. She thinks that being asked to marry is a sign of high status. It is not. It's actual marriage. I know several men right now who've proposed engagement to several women at the same time. They've gotten multiple rings, and then these women are like, oh, I'm engaged to him. Meanwhile, he has multiple women he's engaged to, all of those women.
Which you
now
don't recommend.
Yes, I don't recommend this. But those women now with whole sexual access from other men because they're engaged. Meanwhile, he's sleeping with multiple women at once. Now, I'm not saying this is good. I highly don't recommend this, but I certainly see this happen. And I know several women who said they've been engaged 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and they think that they think it's a flex. It's not. It actually shows that men are not willing to commit to you.
Yeah, and it's important for me to say that, correct me if I'm wrong, all the things you say about women that could be interpreted as negative, you don't judge them because you understand the evolutionary
of course not.
Basis for it.
Yeah, let me make this more simple. The word hypergamy is thrown around too much, just like the word patriarchy is thrown around too much. There's 2 versions of each word. The word hypergamy, if we talk about it dispassionately and just say in general, women want to marry someone that has bigger, stronger, faster, taller, of a higher social class than them, that makes sense. It's not evil, and it certainly is provable. Okay, that's hypergamy. The other one is hypergamy. Hypergamy, yes, for sure. There's hypergamy, and then there's hypergamy. Hypergamy is the red pill guy waving his finger at women, calling them 304s, calling them pejoratives, calling them whores, stuff like that. That's hypergamy. You're evil. That's it's the same word, but it means 2 different things, just like patriarchy and patriarchy. Patriarchy, if we were to say, hey, men have 17 times as much testosterone as women, and because of that, in general, they're going to be the ones who lead lead the hunting party, build the fortifications, and protect the tribe. And so they're going to because of the testosterone, they're going to be more assertive, more dominant, more aggressive, more ambitious. They're more likely to be the leaders of the tribe. The leaders of the tribe being almost exclusively men would equal a patriarchy. So if we talk about this in a dispassionate way, is society throughout history been a patriarchy? Yes, for survival, it had to be. It wasn't women who were going to lead the tribal bands, since women have 1/2 as much upper body strength as men. And one of the biggest differences, and this is the absolute proof of what I'm talking about, absolute incredible evidence, is they go over and they test the ability for men and women to throw objects overhand, okay, which is a survival characteristic. Slingshot, throwing a rock, throwing a spear, swinging a sword, all those kind of things. That motion, women are like far less adept at doing that than men. The reason why men have this incredible ability to throw objects overhand, Homo sapien men have the ability to throw objects overhand greater than any creature that has ever lived on this planet. Gorillas can't throw objects. Gorillas, because they're a shoulder joint, they throw objects underhand, like softball. Because of that, that is just absolute, complete, and total proof that men throughout history have been using their upper body strength in order to protect the tribe against predation and other men. Okay? And so if society was built on this, where upper body muscle, strong, assertive, aggressive men have always lived, then of course the result of that obviously is a patriarchy. Men are going to be the leaders of those societies. So that's patriarchy. Just saying it in a sort of we're reading in a textbook, patriarchy. We're saying it in a dispassionate way. Then there's patriarchy. Patriarchy is the feminist who believes that men throughout history have deliberately subjugated women for evil purposes, evil, nefarious purposes, because deep down they all hate women, and that there's a pay-wage gap that's completely based on discrimination towards women, which of course it isn't. If you do any study on a pay-wage gap, you find that it has to do with childbirth. It has nothing to do with men versus women, and anyone who owns a business knows this to be true. If I could pay women 80 cents on the dollar what I pay men, I'd hire nothing but women. I would just only hire women. That they don't understand how economics works. So when you go back to this idea of a pay-wage gap, that's patriarchy. So there's patriarchy. Okay, I understand the dispassionate academic use of the word. And then there's patriarchy. That's the feminist yelling at men. Just like there's hypergamy. Okay, I understand hypergamy, how it fits in biology. And then there's hypergamy, 304, ho. So when we use these words dispassionately, we use them correctly, then they're fine. The problem is these words have been bastardized and they're used to attack the other side. And we really should stop doing that. The best way that I found for men and women to kind of understand the opposite side is consider having a child. So if you close your eyes and you think about you having a daughter, if you're a man and you're very, very, very much into, deep manosphere content, and you've gotten into the conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff. And it sounds funny me saying this. Rollo Tomasi is one of my best friends. I'm not talking about Rollo because Rollo is really not that far gone. Is most of the guys in this space. Rollo's pretty moderate. And you sit there and you think about, okay, I have a daughter. What would I want my daughter to do? Would I want my daughter to marry a weak man with no upper body muscle and who had no money? Or would I want my daughter to marry a man who could protect her and my grandchildren and provide for them financially? Okay, well, the second is true. Well, if the second is true, hypergamy. I've just described hypergamy. I'm just having empathy through my daughter by a proxy to say that I would be in favor of hypergamy. If you have a woman, we've had several instances of this where they'll come on, like, say, Fresh and Fit, or they'll come on my show, and we'll have a woman who is a sex worker, a stripper, or whatever. They do some kind of work like that on OnlyFans. And then we ask them, it's like, okay, so if you had a son, would you want your son dating a girl who works in pornography? And they'd be like, they're coping and looking around, and they're like, no, I guess I wouldn't. Okay, now you understand the concepts of intersexual dynamics from the dynamics of having a son, just like I would understand the concepts of hypergamy from having a hypothetical daughter. So it makes sense. So what we need to have is more empathy for each other and stop blaming each other. The proclivities that we have, men wanting more sexual variety, women wanting the highest status men that they can get to commit to them, these proclivities come from natural selection. They're not bad. They're not good. They're just natural. It doesn't mean they're good. Again, there's a proclivity for human males to become extremely jealous when they see their partner with another man. This proclivity has probably been the single most common reason for homicide. Meaning throughout history, the number one reason why men have killed other men is because of jealousy over women. Is that a good thing? No, I don't think it is. If you catch your girl cheating, charge it to the game, move on to the next girl. But is it natural? It is natural. It is. There's an evolutionary reason for it, which is I don't want to be cuckolded, so I don't want other men around my mate, and that's why I have this feeling. And it's really funny whenever I had Jen Rufo on, and I had this other matchmaker on, and they were explaining to me that I should enjoy the experience of watching my wife be having sex with another man in front of me, and I should just be more open-minded to being cucked. And it's really closed-minded of me, and I don't know what I'm missing out. And of course, what they're saying is preposterous, because there's no way. It's not just preposterous because it feels preposterous. It's preposterous because it doesn't fit evolutionarily. The species does not propagate if the alpha male high status dudes who are strong, who can actually protect the tribe, are consistently letting other men have sexual intercourse with their wife. Society doesn't work that way. That doesn't make sense evolutionarily. And so because it doesn't make sense evolutionarily, that's the reason why it's, in general, it's wrong. I'm not saying it's completely wrong. I'm sure there's 5% of men who love watching their wives get nailed by some dude. But 5%, 3%, 1%, I don't know what it is, but it's not the most men. It's with most men, high 90 percentile are not going to enjoy that, right? So that's generally what I see there. And so the thing that I just said to a lot of people is offensive. What do you mean, Michael? Yeah. No, things can't be different. It's like, no, it's very different. And by the way, I'm gonna say something else. I don't mind if another woman kisses my girlfriend, and the reason why is because she can't get her pregnant. So I don't mind. I actually enjoy watching. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. That may come off as a double standard. I understand that, but that is the case. So there is a double standard. There's a biological double standard in all of these things that we mentioned. Just like I said before, my sexual market value is determined by the most attractive women I can get to have sex with me. A woman's sexual market value is determined by the highest status men she can get to commit to her.
Yeah, incredible. Let's talk some practicality. Let's address some limiting beliefs guys have and how they can practically build a high status social circle. So first of all, a limiting belief that you kind of touched on is that women are interested only or very much in money and height. And
yeah,
first of all, the way I go with it is attraction is due to evolution. And money isn't in evolution. It's like a symbol, right?
Sort of. It's an allegory for competency.
Yeah. And again, like you said, height or, being muscular evolutionarily would attract a woman because this man can protect her. But if a man has a network, then he can protect her more. So as you said, there are a lot of ways for a man to be attractive to women. And money and height are relatively irrelevant if you use other things the way you teach and that we're going to touch on soon.
No, when it comes to the building a social circle, so what you're talking about, there's this worship of only the idea that only looks and money matter to women. That concept is called black pill. Well, black pill is only looks matter. And then if you have enough money, women will have sex with you without genuine desire because of your money. That's called black pill. And the thing is, black pill has been disproven several times. Any kind of black pill content creator, they never want to debate me because I have too many clients that don't fit that mold who have a ton of success with women. So the issue is this: the things that are so again, it's the easiest to see. So I had two friends. I briefly dated both of these girls, and one of them was she was a little bit shorter. She had black hair. She was Korean. She was half Korean. And the other girl was this tall blonde with green eyes and huge boobs and blonde hair. And they were both, if you looked at them, they were both equally as pretty, but everyone noticed the blonde first. Do you understand? Do you understand where I'm going with this? Everyone noticed the blonde first because she was taller with bigger boobs and blonde hair. It didn't mean she was prettier. Everyone noticed her first. Well, it's the same situation here, is that everyone notices the tall guy with the girl and everyone notices the rich guy with the girl. They notice them first because those interactions are like the tall blonde with big boobs and green eyes. That's what they're seeing the most. It doesn't mean that that's what's happening the most. What's happening more frequently than that is a guy with charisma, humor, social proof, pre-selection, and access to, like, I know one guy, all he did was pass out the artist wristbands on stage at Access. And he hooked up with the hottest women I've ever seen in my life. All he did because he had access to a scarce location. That's all it was. It was like that access that he gave him an incredible logistical advantage with women he normally wouldn't have had a chance with. You showing relevancy and competency. Money is an allegory for competency. you showing that you are the best cardiologist in your city. Women don't know how much money you have, but they can see that you know what you're talking about. Let's say you have a brand where you're putting out, reels on Instagram on a regular basis, and it's very clear you know what you're talking about. Women are going to find that guy more attractive because he's competent. It's not because of money. And so that's the thing. And being a better public speaker, the idea that these black pill people don't think that me being a better speaker would make me more attractive to women. I shouldn't make this about me. In general, a guy who is a better public speaker is going to be more attractive to women. He's going to be able to communicate with women more with a deep, booming voice, putting spaces in between his words, talking slow and loud. His ability to do that is it's clear, it's obvious. So there's several different ways that a man can generate attraction. The problem is the big, busty blonde who's tall, the one you see, that interaction that's most commonly seen is the money way and the looks way. And so it's caused their selection bias is basically what's seeing. Those are the only ones that you're seeing. And so that's why there's that clear misunderstanding or misinterpretation on attraction triggers with women.
Yeah. And let's talk about attraction triggers, which are in a way, I mean, not sexually, but they work also for men. And I'd like you to touch on that. But as far as I understand, the most effective attraction trigger is preselection. So please explain what is preselection, why it's so strong.
So preselection is the term that we use in this space online. The actual term is mate choice copying in humans, which seems to affect women way more than men, and it seems to actually affect younger women more than older women. This is what the data shows us. And the way it works is when women, they have all this incomplete information whenever they look at a man. They don't know if you're good in bed, if you're a stalker, if you're violent. They don't know anything about the resources you collect. You come from a good family, whatever. If they see that man and they see other women around that man, they assume that they're filling out the form. So there's all this incomplete information. There's basically a form that has nothing filled out. They're looking at other women and then they're filling out the data in the form based on watching other women. And so because of that, they're inferring attraction because they see other women around that man. And so that's what mate choice copying in humans is. There's multiple studies showing men in photographs with women are more attractive. There's multiple studies showing that men who wear wedding rings in these photos, women found those men to be more attractive than men who were not taken. So again, goes back to what I said before, as a man, your sexual market value is determined by the most attractive women who will have sex with you. And so any indicators to that end make women more attractive to men. That's just a function of evolution. And so the opposite doesn't work. Men seeing women being surrounded by multiple men does not make those women more attractive. Finding out that multiple, movie stars and professional athletes have slept with a woman does not make me more attracted to her. And pretty much universally, you're going to find that men find that the case. There are a few men, we talked about the cucks before, they probably find that attractive, but most men, 19 out of 20 men are not going to find that attractive. And so the way preselection or mate choice copying works, it pretty much works in one direction. And so what we found is, and we've run this experiment to see how far we could push it, the ultimate experimenter of this was Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner would show himself with multiple women. A lot of people think that Hugh Hefner got those girls because he was rich. It's very clearly, if you read, Hugh Hefner was not giving these women a lot of money. He really wasn't spending a ton of money on them. He was feeding them, but the women, when you ask them, they all said the same thing. It's like, I always wanted to be a Playboy model. It was a status thing to be next to Hugh Hefner, and Hugh Hefner had the hottest women in the world to choose from, and if he chose one of those girls, they saw it as like a compliment. Now, obviously, that's a ridiculously high example. It's a vector. None of us are going to get to that point. That's not what I'm talking about. Same thing. Bilzerian is another example where he kept showing other women attracted to him, which made more women become attracted to him. He did this over and over again, and it went on. And me being friends with Dan for the last 10 years, watching it firsthand, I can tell you, we'll be at a party and it's just women lined up to go hang out with Dan, and he just doesn't spend any money on any of them. It's wild. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. So it's like, okay, what if I tried to apply this to a normal guy like me and just see how far it would work? So I'm out here in Las Vegas. I throw these incredible events, women in gowns on red carpets, hosting bikini competitions. And I was just like, I'm just going to post all of the photos of me with the girls, but I'm not going to touch the girls. The girls can touch me, but I'm not going to touch them. I'm never going to make anything sexual, and I'm just going to make things humorous, fun, lighthearted. Are more women going to find me attractive and less women, or are more women going to find me attractive, or are less women going to find me attractive? And the answer is obvious. More women found me attractive. And also more women complained about me posting pictures with women. So more the words that came out were, this is less attractive to women. The actions that came out from women is that clearly, and I'm talking about an order of magnitude, like 10 times as many women wanted to date me when I started posting stuff like this. And then they would complain while we're on a date. It's like, oh, you know, every hot girl, but then the date would then lead to Bible study. The date would then lead to a relationship afterwards, because even though they said the words that it bothered them, in reality, it was actually generating attraction. Mate choice copying in humans is the ultimate cheat code. It's the easiest thing for men to do to generate attraction when they're not, traditionally good looking. This is the best way for them to generate attraction. You'll notice the people who tell you to not use preselection are good looking male dating coaches, male models. Really good looking guys don't like the idea of using preselection because they don't have a strong frame. That's generally what happens when you're really good looking. They don't have a very strong frame when it comes to women. And so because of that, when women tell them, hey, I don't like it when you do this, then those guys are really good looking guys. They take all the photos down with women. Also, really mid-tier women are another group of women that also say, I don't like it when guys post picture with women. And the reason why is because they're kind of like losing some leverage in the relationship. So you'll notice it isn't average or not good looking guys telling you to not do this because they understand that it works.
Yeah. And okay, now someone can tell me, well, poor me, because the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, right? Like, it doesn't help me that if I'm surrounded by beautiful women, I'm more attractive to beautiful women because I don't have any, right?
Yeah.
And then you have cold approach,
the perfect bridge,
which is
the perfect bridge. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have cold approach, which is like, okay, if I want to meet women, cold approach meaning like I don't know someone.
You mean cold approach? You mean cold approach pickup?
Yeah.
You cold approach with the intent of trying to date them, and you show them intent, which makes your value lower. Yeah. That's cold approach pickup.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So in that version, I see an attractive woman, and I tell her something along the lines of like, you're very pretty, let's
direct again.
Go on a date.
Yeah.
And the way I think about it is it's very binary, right?
Yes.
She has to decide on the spot whether it's yes or not. She has no information about you. And then
great example. Yeah.
Most of the time, the answer is gonna be no. And you just lose, right? And it's like, the way I look at it, it's like lottery, right? You have money, and then you just put it and you hope for the best, and most of the time you lose. But you teach another way, which most of the time, or significantly a lot of the time, you just accumulate more and more preselection. It's the difference between putting your resources into the lottery and putting your resources into investment, which is just growing and growing. So please explain the concept of putting women in the friend zone.
Awesome. Do you see my screen? Is my screen popping up here?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an example. These girls, I'm dating one of the girls in this photo. I'm not going to say which, but these girls are friends of mine. Because we're just friends, we take photos. Again, there's nothing lascivious. I'm actually not touching the girls. If you can't really see my hands, but my hands are staying off of them. You can see like the girl in the black, you can see my right hand. It's off of her body. I don't touch the girls. The girls can touch me. And I take a lot of pictures like this with girls that I'm just friends with. Now, occasionally it's also women that I'm also dating, but it doesn't have to be. The thing about this is, I know a lot of people are like, oh no, Michael, that's try hard. Provably effective. The Royal Society, Southwest University, Texas Tech, multiple studies on this, makes you more attractive, provably effective. Okay. And so a lot of people have a hard time with this concept. So the trick is to bridge the gap of the question you just asked. Hey, Michael, I don't have a bunch of female friends with me. That's because you need to learn how to treat women like you treat men and make friends with them on a regular basis. And if you do that, you have an army of women that are on your side. Then you have an amazing ability to meet women. So my ex-girlfriend, the way we met was there were 4 girls at a bar. We were at a bikini competition in Mexico that I was hosting. And we had 4 girls at the bar. And I told one of the girls, I was like, hey, yo, do you see that one girl with the blue eyes and the black hair. Like, can you tell me if you see her at the bar? She texts me, she's here. We're talking about you. We're telling her how awesome you are. I show up and I meet her. And then immediately, like, I don't have to do any work. The girls have done it all for me and just bigged me up the whole time. And then we end up, hanging out, and we were boyfriend and girlfriend like a couple of weeks later, because we just met in that manner. But like, for me to go, she said this several times. She's like, if you had just come up to me randomly, I really would have rejected you. I hate when random guys come up and cold approach, but because all these women, they knew you and vouched for you, then it made it way more comfortable for me to talk to you. Two of my closest friends are CJ Sparks and Kindly Myers, and they're both playmates. And whenever we go out in social situations, if I want to go talk to a girl, I always go with those girls with me, and the conversation flows super easy. And the girl's always like looking at her, looking at me, like trying to understand what the dynamic is. But what happens is a lot of that initial apprehension she has of a male stranger coming and talking to her, completely gone. I hope most of you can understand this. I don't really understand why I still have to debate this with people, because it's really difficult for a lot of guys to understand this, very difficult for a lot of women to understand this concept. But regardless of whether or not it's hard to understand, it's still true. It's still completely true. So a lot of people have a difficult time with that whole notion. But yeah, that's how mate choice copying works, and how preselection works, and how having female friends. If you need to use the word female teammates because you refuse to tell the world that you have female friends, use female teammates, whatever you need. But here's the reason why there's a misunderstanding. What you're referring to, that uneasy feeling that you have as a man, what you're referring to is being friend zoned. Friend zoned. Imagine if a guy came up to you, a man that you're friends with, and he tried to hit on you sexually, and you're like, bro, I don't roll like that. Get the fuck away from me. No, we're still cool, but like, I'm not interested in that. He friend zoned you because he showed intent. But men have male friends all the time that they don't friend zone because there's no sexual intent. If you don't show sexual intent to a woman, you can put her in the friend zone. If you show sexual intent, she puts you in the friend zone. You putting her in the friend zone makes you this alpha male that are surrounded by beautiful women and other women find you attractive. She puts you in the friend zone. You become this beta male, and she tells her friends what a great guy you are. And then next thing you know, none of her friends want to date you. So you're correct in that you don't want a woman to put you in the friend zone. You're incorrect in that you don't want to put women in the friend zone. Again, I've been explaining this for over a decade. Guys still don't grasp the concept, except the guys who are in MOA. They understand it. They see it's one of the things. The reason why my guys have so much success is because other people refuse to admit that what I'm saying is true. Because as long as you stay in this world where men and women can't be friends, you're always going to be less attractive than my clients. My clients will always do better than you because they're always going to have an army of women introducing them to more women, and you're going to keep doing, a creepy, try hard, cold approach where you show intent and lower your value. If you're super good looking, it'll work for you. But if you're not, then you're going to have some difficulty.
I think a lot of men don't understand. I think Owen Cook once told this metaphor that, like, imagine as a man that the sex that you would be attracted to, like that women would be like bears. So you would be attracted to them like bears, like a grizzly bear. In the sense that you would be attracted to them, but they could kill you.
Yes.
So women are attracted to men.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So I've used it. Yeah. The analogy makes sense. Okay. So the way to see it is like, if you go to the zoo, you can see the gorilla, but you also know you can't get in the cage with the gorilla. I use this analogy a little bit more with my female friends who are a little bit more promiscuous. I still love them and I hang out with them or whatever, but I'm never going to get in a relationship with them. It's just like a white tiger. It might be beautiful to look at, but you don't want to get into a relationship with it because it's only going to end badly. So you want to stay away from that. So, I mean, yeah, I've definitely seen that before.
Yeah. Now, you talked about this study that showed that when a man is surrounded by women, he's more attractive to other women. And you mentioned in other podcasts that even when the woman that looks at the man knows that he is not sleeping with any of the women and they're just his friends, he's still more attractive.
Yeah, if you guys have this one makes people so angry when I say it, but it is absolutely true because it proves everything I've been saying. There's data that shows that women find these men more attractive even when they know the man is not sleeping with those women, which proves my whole theory about female friends. That's the reason why it's so effective. And for those of you who have any doubt about what I'm saying, go on ChatGPT, Grok, go on Perplexity, go on DeepSeek, and go on Gemini. Ask the same question. Is there data showing that women find men more attractive when they're photographed with women, even if they're not dating those women? And they'll all tell you yes. The data is conclusive on this. And so that's why what I do is so effective. And one of the first things I ask my clients is when they start using my techniques on social media, I was like, how many of you guys have had your ex-girlfriend start hitting you up after you did that? And all of them raise their hand. The ex-girlfriend who cheated, the ex-girlfriend who broke up with him, all of a sudden she's messaging back. Why? Because he's taken on the vibe, the personality. He's taken on the persona of a very attractive man. And that wasn't who she broke up with. And so there's a disconnect, and therefore she has to message him. And I was like, when your ex starts messaging you and complaining about your new stuff, remember, she's the one who left you. When she starts complaining, remember, that just means what you're doing is working.
So let's paint a picture of how it looks. Like a guy starts, maybe cold approaching to make friends with women. And it just grows and grows and grows. And what happens then?
You cold approach to build a social circle. So you don't cold approach. So I'm not telling you cold approach pickup. I say cold approach to build a social circle. If you consistently cold approach to build a social circle, imagine a guy who is a real estate agent who goes to a real estate conference and is passing out his card. You're still cold approaching, but there's no sexual intent. And so everyone's open to meeting you and everyone's very friendly. And then you introduce high status people to more high status people. It just grows your status in that group. So you get to a certain point where the guys are like, hey, I want to refer my business to you. Or women are like, hey, I find you attractive. That's the way it works. You just continually build. It goes back to the very first thing we talked about. Throughout history, men who have had stronger social networks have had more access to resources and more sexual selection. And so this is just a manifestation of that. You just cold approach to build a social circle. You go into each interaction with women showing no intent and just collecting them for your social circle. And then what happens is if the conversation continues to go along, you keep asking for compliance. And then maybe you go home with the girl that night and you guys go on a little date or whatever right then and there. Or the girl doesn't give you the compliance you're looking for, in which case she meets you later at the charity event, Maxim party, gala, boat party, whatever the thing you have planned in the future. She comes there where she gets to see other women reacting to you, pre-selection. She gets to see other men reacting to you, social proof, and those things generate attraction. Whereas initially she wasn't that attracted to you on the first meet. Now you've been able to generate attraction in her. There's another study by Lucy Hill, one of my favorite studies, which shows that they show men and women when they meet and when they start dating and the difference between the two times. So for instance, a man meets and then they start dating 9 months later, then they show the likelihood of they measure how long these people knew each other before they started dating. And then they look at the attractiveness of the two members of the couple. And what happens was when men and women met and immediately started dating, they tended to both be around the same level of attractiveness. Around 3 or 4 months, that number got cut in half. And once it got to 9 months, the number was not significantly different from zero. Meaning that's when the guy who's a 5 was dating a 10, was because he put the girl in his social circle. He friend zoned her and he allowed her to see him be attractive to other women, which then generated attraction in her. And then she found him attractive. And now he's the 5 who's dating the 10. That's how that works. That's the most basic. And again, you guys notice I keep bringing up studies and universities where these studies happen over and over again, because there's data to back up everything that I'm saying. And that's why it's a lot of people really don't like, because I've asked people hundreds of times, please debate me on this. And they don't want to debate me because they can't come up with the data to back up their position. There is no data that shows that men who post pictures with attractive women are less attractive to women. I've looked. The whole internet, there's no data that indicates that. And yet there are tons of dating coaches who tell you this. And so I'm only going where the data takes me. And so it's very difficult to debate me, which is the reason why, again, I've been begging people, come on Twitter Spaces. Let's have a debate on these subjects, but nobody really wants to do it.
Yeah, thank you. And if people want to learn more, see your content, maybe, learn more what you teach, how can they do that?
Easiest way is just look up Michael Sartain, one word. It's Michael Sartain on Instagram. It's Michael Sartain on YouTube. It's Michael Sartain on TikTok. On Twitter, because a bunch of weirdos got me banned on there, it's actually Sartain Podcast. Also on Twitter, I say really, really crazy stuff. that I would not say on other platforms because I know I'm not going to get banned for saying crazy stuff. I got banned because this guy threatened me physically, and then I threatened him back, and then they got rid of my account. I didn't understand how the rules worked, and it was very clear to me. It was like, this guy started it, but they didn't care, so I lost my account. So Sartain Podcast on Twitter, and yeah, you should be able to find me really easily. DM me on Instagram. If you don't have an Instagram, that's problem number one. That is the easiest way to meet women. It is the number one dating app in the world. Please get on there. We'll help you with that, along with teaching you leadership, networking, communication, dating, evolutionary psychology, winning mindset, critical thinking. We're going to teach you all of those skill sets so that you can become a complete holistic man who not only builds your brand and makes more money, but you're also having a gaggle of women following you, trying to get your attention.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Talk to you soon. Thank you for having me on, man.
Thank you.